Many thanks for staying with us and welcome back to Business Week here on Rise News. Now, in Nigeria, it is estimated that 80% of businesses are family-owned, yet fewer than 20% survive beyond the second generation, according to PwC Nigeria's Family Business Survey. Across Africa, the African Private Equity and Venture Capital Association has flagged poor succession planning as one of the key barriers to long-term sustainability for SMEs. Now, the World Economic Forum has also identified leadership continuity as one of the most critical gaps for African entrepreneurship ecosystems. So, why do so many businesses falter after the founders exit? Why do some entrepreneurs feel compelled to pass the baton to their children, even when it may not be in the best interest of the company? Today, we bring you two distinct perspectives on succession. On one side, Mrs. Temilola Adepetun, who is founder of SKLD Integrated Services, a powerhouse in school kids, retail and manufacturing, who stands at the threshold of handing a company over to a successor outside her family. On the other, Mr. Beecroft, who is CEO of Eventful Limited, who took over from an iconic founder about 4 years ago, continuing her vision in Nigeria's highly dynamic events and hospitality industry. Together, they help us unpack what real succession plans looks like in practice and why legacy should be built beyond you and how leaders can future-proof their enterprises for generations to come. Good morning to you, Mrs. A, as well as Beecroft. Many thanks for joining us on Business Week today. It's such a pleasure to have you both.
Good morning.
All right, well, let's begin with you, Saya. You took over from Yewande Zaccheaus, who is a widely respected founder. Talk us through what that process was like from your perspective and how you stepped into her shoes while finding your own leadership voice.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. I think the first thing first was to try to understand who Yewande Zaccheaus was, understand our values, understand our visions, and then also do some sort of self-assessment for myself, self-reflection to be able to understand if my passion, my value also align with Yewande Zaccheaus' value. And I think that did help shape the whole conversation from the onset. So it was an easier and a smoother transition because of this factor. And I think the other critical factor that I also had to look at myself with regards to the shift in terms of my cultural shift. And when I say cultural shift, I meant going on associations and business organizations, joining newer business organizations like the British Chamber of Commerce. Those are things that she had to open up to me to be able to get involved with, and NBC, Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce, and then going on all these other business meetings and with club associations like the Motor Boat Club, the Metropolitan Club. Those are kind of places that she took me to give me that sense of belonging, that sense of comfort to be able to relate properly with our circle and understand the dynamics of the business. And I think after that also is the fact that obviously there is need for me to do a lot of unlearning. What I've done in the past that weren't the right things, she had to do a lot of relearning for me. And that took me to Lagos Business School, where I had to do a lot entrepreneurial courses that built my capacity, and also a lot of other management courses which I did within Nigeria and also outside Nigeria also. And I think all these were factors that were playing out from the onset, and it actually helped me to settle in as the new incoming managing director.
So you had a fair preparation ground in many ways, and you also had to find alignment within yourself to know that you were going to fit into. I think that's very important. Mrs. A, let's come to you. You've built SKLD into one of Nigeria's most recognizable names in education and retail over the years. Now, that's a lot of work, and congratulations on the great work that you have done as well. What was the aha moment for you? What inspired the decision to say, let me step back and begin the succession process?
Okay, first and foremost, I would say that I started my business at the age of 40, which is considered rather late in some places. But anyway, I started as a one-stop retail store, and then I ran the business alone. When I say alone, as the head for like 12 years. In the 12th year, we opened in Abuja. By the time we got to Abuja, I knew that I had reached my limit because I had 3 retail stores in Lagos, 1 in Abuja, and I just thought I was getting overwhelmed. And I knew I was not going to be going all over the place. At the same time, I was about 52. And I just thought, I need younger hands, more talent, managers, people that would bring new perspectives, more dynamic leadership. And so I took that decision at that time to engage a consultant. And I also realized that we needed to look at our work processes better, because when you have 4 retail stores and one is out of town, you need to look at your processes better. So we did that, and I got the consultant in. So it was a whole restructuring, looking at the different job roles and so on and so forth. And that was what made me take the decision. And he was the one who recommended that I should have a COO. And that's how come I started the succession planning. So that was 13 years ago.
Oh, and that was a decision that has paid off, I would believe.
It has paid off in a very great way. I mean, that's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I will tell you that for free.
Oh, that's refreshing to hear. Well, let's talk about the actual process of succession planning to begin with. Now, often founders do not plan it consciously. They almost get to a point and the realization takes in and you say, okay, I want to do that. But you've spoken, quite extensively, Sire, about the preparation ground for this. Of all the processes that you went through, which of them would you say was the most transformational in preparing you for taking this role over?
I think the most transformational one was my courses. And I think that was the courses that I had to do, which has to do with the entrepreneurial courses. And that also opened your eyes to a lot of things that you never imagined and things you thought you will see it in a better and a different light. Funny enough, she was one of my lecturers at the Lagos Business School when I had my training there. And so those kind of courses exposes your eyes to a bit of everything within the business space, the sales, taxation, marketing, business development. You are able to, gather a lot of understanding of what it takes to be a business leader when you go for some of these courses. And beside that, also, we had other courses around the management courses. This, again, for me, the eye-opener was managing a 21st century workplace. I'm in my late 40s. I have Gen Zs, I have millennials that I'm dealing with, which are a whole different ball game entirely in managing. And so these courses open your eyes to issues around maybe empathy, how you are able to manage the work staff, mental health issues, how you are able to balance things among the staff. And it also opened us to the extent that we're able to consider our policies in the office around which ones do we need to shuffle a bit, of course, as I moved into the system, resumption time, closing time, work-life balance, which are very critical things for these generations that we're leading. I'm leading at the moment.
Right, so very managerial and leadership skills targeted, which is very crucial, of course, for running operations, one would believe. Now, of course, many Nigerian founders, as we know, have this pressure to hand over their businesses to their children. We've seen this play out, over time immemorial. Yet, Mrs. A, you've chosen to do things differently. Let's talk about why you did that, opted not to pass the baton on to your family, to your children, and why you've given other founders that are grappling with this question, what would you advise them?
Okay, to answer the first part of the question, like I said, when the consultant, asked me to get a CEO, he came in and he started doing so much. Within 2 years, I could see the passion. I could see all what he had poured into the business. I could see, like our revenue practically doubled in 2 years. He set targets, he put more, he strengthened the structure that I had before. And now when you see such passion, you don't just let it go. So I can tell you that within 5 years, I had made up my mind that he was going to be my successor. And then I made him a director and gave him some shares. But back to the main question, why did I choose somebody? It's simple. He has the passion, he has the drive, the dynamism, the big picture mentality. He has taken us to different areas. Now, I don't understand why. Well, maybe let me not say I don't understand, but a lot of people feel that their children should take over. And even now, when I say, I've named my successor, his name is Mr. Tayo Oshiemi, some of my friends even ask me, don't you think your children should be involved? And I said, no. Simply put, this business is my dream. And I'm fortunate enough to have found somebody else to take on this vision, not only expand it, make it much bigger, and my children have their own dreams. In my day, back in the time, we were asked to study either accountancy, law, and all those professions. I'd made up my mind that I was never going to do that to my children. Our children have their own dreams. It's not their dream. Yes, they would respect my dream. They would support it in any way. But there are different ways that your children can support your dream. They can be on the board. They can be in advisory capacity in their own area of expertise. There's nothing wrong with that. But sadly, a lot of Nigerian businesses have failed. They did not move on to the next generation because there was no preparedness on the part of the founder. If you want to prepare your children to succeed then you have to have put them into the system early enough, the apprenticeship system, prepare them. And if that's their own path, if they want to follow it, fine. A lot of companies have not done that. They didn't do that. Other people did their work, and then they just brought in their children. That breeds resentment. So you have to look at what is good for your business. What do you want? Do you want continuity? Do you want to leave a legacy? A lot of international companies exist today. Who knows who the founders were? I mean, look, I worked in the oil sector, so I think that's what gave me that mentality. I worked in oil and gas, and I never knew who the founder was. I just knew that we had, the head office in Houston then, and they would send one MD after the other, for a tenure of 4 or 5 years, and the company ran. So I didn't see, for me, there was continuity in management. And once you put in the right structures in place, you have the top layer. It's not just the first person, the top layer, the next one, and at departmental level. Then you've got it. So it's important that people consider what is good for their business. Competence first before emotions. You do not think your children may not have it. They may not be interested in it. Fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's no need for it to cause any problems.
All right. So finding that alignment for your vision is very critical. It's about that resource that fits in with the vision. If that happened to have been one of your children, would you have also opened the door to that?
If what? Sorry?
If one of your children took an interest in your passion?
Yes, but they would have to start from ground up. They would have had to start, they would have had to start maybe soon after their degree if they took, if they took an interest in it. And that would be fine. But I would also look at competence and leadership, managerial talent, because it's not just about the big picture dreaming. It's about also managing people, managing processes, and carrying on the vision past a certain level. So there are so many things to consider. It's just not them entering the business.
Absolutely. Competence first. No handouts here.
No,
certainly. I like that.
All round.
All right. Well, let's look at operations now. We're in the age of digital disruption. Quite a lot has happened, especially if we look at the number of years that certain businesses have been in existence for with respect to event planning here. Let's talk about how you are innovating. Haven't just taken over the reins of this business. How are you preserving the brand ethos of your predecessor while also, following the new trends that we see propping up?
All right. So what we've done, or what I have done from my for Eventful is we set up what we call the Eventful Plus, and what Eventful Plus does is a millennial arm of the Eventful brand. And again, we saw the loophole in that space, the tech space, and then we were able to latch onto that space. And what we've done is to create this package or product, if I'll call it a product, which seem to help in that space of bringing in the millennial. These guys are one of those that has a deep pocket, actually, millennials, Gen Z, and they have a way of doing their thing. And we were able to understand these dynamics, and we were able to set up the Eventful arm, and led by Busola Babatunde, who runs the project, but obviously in collaboration with the rest of the team. And what we've been able to achieve with that is to set up a lot of tech events, curated events, if I could put it that way, a lot of which we've set up, and then a lot of gaming events also. Those are niche that we felt in the industry was lacking, and we were able to, put ourselves in that pedestal to be able to, fill in that vacuum. And I think that has worked for us extensively over the past maybe 6 years that we've been able to set up that arm, and we've had the funny thing, a lot of international brand, Innovate Africa, Inspire Africa, and a whole lot of tech companies coming to us to plan their tech event, and African Gaming Expo. And in next month, also working in collaboration and in partnership with one of our partners, we're going to be having what we call the first of its kind Podfest Niger, which is going to be happening on the island. And it's just a conversation and a community of Podfest, bringing them together, shaping the conversation and ensuring that we stay on top when it comes to conversations around tech event, and then opening our market to newer opportunities.
Right, so a myriad of activities there, but you finding the key resources,
Yes,
like bringing
please.
millennials who
Yes,
understand
please.
certain trends to
Yes, please.
push that area. I think
Yes,
that's
please.
very smart. And speaking about that, Mrs. A, so you straddle several industries. I find this quite interesting when you have, founders who have quite a number, serial entrepreneurs to say, with you, manufacturing, education, and retail. How have you ensured that the succession planning for your businesses has become sort of industry agnostic and not just tailored to one arm of your business?
Okay. Well, excuse me. Certainly, I didn't do it alone. Like I said, have a successor, and we have a great team. So we started with the retail, which is, we're basically a trading, sourcing, and manufacturing company. So retail is about trading anyway, And then by the time we moved on to wholesale, which was about 5 years into the business, we went on to wholesale, which is also about inventory, getting inventory and sourcing as well. So we had, at that point, I had to build a different team for the wholesale because the needs of retail are totally different. Even the SKUs for retail are much more than the ones for wholesale. So we built a different team and equipped them with logistics and all of that and all they needed for wholesale. And then by the time Tayo came on board, some opportunities came. For instance, we started a garment manufacturing company division because of the Forex exchange rates. I mean, it was really high in 2016. So we decided to do backward integration. So for that, we had to get a specialist to set up the factory, set it up, and then we got another team to run that factory. By the time we moved on to humanitarian aid supplies and distribution, and later on corporate services, for each arm that we have set up, and because we grew organically, we didn't just, blow everything at the same time. You understand what I mean? So for the humanitarian aid supplies, that requires bidding, knowing the bidding process, and then knowing how to compete and somebody. So we had to have a team, a procurement team separate from the retail and wholesale procurement team. And then we set up structures around it. So for each business that we have added over the years, like I said, we added them, we grew organically. We set up teams that will manage each business. Unfortunately, Tayo was the CEO, then later he became the DMD. He was able to manage. So when you put experts and, good talents at the helm of each division, then you can manage, you are better able to coordinate. Then in recent years, we added corporate services, which is also a blend of manufacturing and sourcing. So that, could link in with the first two lines of businesses. And what we've also done, there are several layers of succession planning, and I'd like to say this. So apart from me, there's Tayo, we call him Mr. T. He's the DMD. Then we have a COO, who oversees all the operations, and that's Ms. Faith Abakada. Then we have a head of commercial. Then we have heads of departments. So different departments we have, and we make sure we engage good talent. What I realize that some people don't want to do, they don't want to pay for the experienced talent. So that's what we've done. We've had to pay for the experienced talent and make sure that each division has its own head. And then there's a central reporting. And we set up the central executive committee. So it's just not two people making decisions. We have a central executive committee that makes decisions.
Right. So as you evolved over time, because it sounds like this was a process, you evolved into this roles, and it was very targeted and very deliberate process,
Yes.
which sounds, very, very smart. We've got very few minutes left, and I want to talk about something that, is quite important, and that's trust and acceptance. Almost from two facets, and we have to do this very briefly. Let's begin with you, Fisayo. In what ways what challenges did you face in getting that acceptance and trust from your predecessor?
Yeah, okay. I won't call it, maybe it's a challenge, but I think it's for me as a person also to be able to prove myself And loyalty is key. Somebody who owns the business is handing it over to you. He or she needs to be sure that you are going to run it as in the way she would want it to be run when she was there. That is very key. Integrity, very, very key. Those were the things that she will be looking out for, as the integrity. Then also to be able to understand the system, to be able to, ensure that after she leaves, the system can run itself. And I will tell you for free that even as of now, we are already brewing the next generation that's going to take over from me. That's just the reality, because that's the way she works and that's the way we reason in Eventful. And so to the extent that those factors that I've mentioned earlier on, and also probably allowing the younger ones to come up naturally in such a, not an organic way, but in a systemic way, that they pass through the process and ensure at the end of the day they are also able to fit into the system. And I think those were a few of the challenges that I would say I emphasized, and I went through, and I think at the end of the day I was able to surmount these challenges.
Right, so you earned it.
Yeah, surely.
Both the acceptance and the trust. Mrs. A, let's wrap up with you very briefly, please. Would you echo what Fisaya said in terms of you handing over your baby to somebody else? It requires a lot of trust and acceptance. What was that key trait you were looking for in that individual?
I was looking for, well, like I said, competence first, then reliance, dependability. Then, as the storms came, tenacity, and also aligning with the vision. So I saw a lot of all those things. But more important, than all of these attributes is character. So I saw someone with a solid character. In Yoruba, we say omoluabi. That means somebody from a good home, somebody that is, a thoroughbred, well brought up. And that's what I saw. And within 5 years, I was certain.
Right, very, very insightful. If you joined us midway, I've been chatting with Mrs. Temilola Adepetun, who is founder, SKLD Integrated Services, as well as Mr. Fisaya Beecroft, who is CEO, Eventful Limited. I want to thank you so very much for joining us for this very insightful conversation. It's been very enriching. And we hope to see you both again very soon.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Well, that's all we have time for today on Business Week. But let's continue with a conversation on X. I am Abby Owolawi. Do have a lovely rest of the weekend.